time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go!
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and your every week Star Wars podcast, after show, podcast, internet radio show, whatever you want to call it. This week we have our co-hosts Bryce and Blake joining us in the Escape Pod to talk all about Star Wars Visions Volume 2, which has been out for a few weeks now. And hopefully you all have all had the chance to go through this very quick season. Every single short of this season is between like 6 and 15 minutes or something. So it's a pretty quick ride. You can do the full season in 2.5 hours, giving a cultural anime perspective on Star Wars. And we'll talk about that in a moment as we review each episode of Star Wars Visions Volume 2. Let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
All right, welcome back. Hello.
Hello there. Yes, good to be back. And a nice break from Rebels. Getting some fresh stuff here. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and hello to you, Bryce.
Hey guys, hey, good to be back.
Good to have you back. And it's been a little bit since we've actually sat down and recorded an episode because I was off for a couple weeks and we were
secrets out.
Yeah, secrets out. That the podcast was automatically dropping Rebels talk after shows as while we were away on the hiatus on our Jedi barrage,
Right.
our barrage vow.
You disappeared to Acto for a while. We didn't know where you were.
That's right. Yeah, some girl named Ray came knocking at my door.
So we need a new episode.
Yeah.
The fans are yearning.
The fans are yearning for more. I want more.
You were in Scotland, so
Yeah.
was on
Yeah.
tow.
It's true,
Pretty much.
actually. Yeah, pretty much.
We had to go there and actually convince him to come back to, just to save the,
Like, we're not
save the
making this
galaxy.
up. It was the real Octo.
Yeah.
Josh was actually hiding.
You gotta come back. You gotta come back for the podcast, Josh.
We haven't talked about Visions yet.
I was hiding away on
We
Aldani.
need you. We need you.
Help us, Josh. You're our only hope.
Yeah, how was it?
It was awesome. It was a great trip,
Yeah.
and we did a coach through the Highlands, and that's where we saw a lot of filming locations for 007, Harry Potter, and I'm pretty sure they did some of Andor there for Aldani.
Oh, I could see
You know,
that.
the outlines, the in the Highlands, right, when they're the Imperial base and all that.
Did you see the mansion?
Yeah, when Andor was first coming out, I had just come back from the Highlands as well, and I instantly recognized it. It was
Oh,
pretty
nice.
cool.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's so cool.
And from the pictures you were sending us, it looked very similar. Yeah. It was
yeah,
super.
yeah.
It's interesting because it's nice when it doesn't need, when you automatically recognize it. You can tell there's not a ton of CG that kind of goes over the top to kind of make it into a new world.
Right.
It's almost instantly recognizable, which is really nice.
Yeah,
in that environment when you're there.
Totally. Yeah, it is nice because you do get that real like cinematic vibe. Like, I mean, I gotta say, like, I love all the other shows that Disney Plus has been doing, but Andor is the one show that I can say I would go see that in the theater, and
Yeah.
it's gonna hold up. Like, it looks amazing.
It's
right?
funny because
Yeah.
it is for sure the most cinematic of all the different films or shows. So
Yeah,
it makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, the filming on location does do a whole lot to bring that kind of realism, back into Star Wars a bit.
Yeah, you were just waiting for like that crazy TIE fighter to screech over your head when you were walking around.
Yeah, totally.
Get down!
Hide all your gear under some blankets.
Yeah. There's nowhere to run in the Highlands though, right?
Yeah.
Your wife's like, what are you running from?
Yeah.
Should have recorded a short.
Not our luggage.
Yeah. Get under the coach. Yeah,
Nice.
so
Glad to have you back though.
yeah, thanks. The great to be back, and and I mean before we took a break. We did do some pre-recordings for Rebels Talk with you Blake and I have been doing the Rebels, and Bryce, at some point if you feel like dropping into any of those, absolutely feel free. To all our listeners out there who've been following Rebels Talk, rewatching Star Wars Rebels through this summer leading up to Ahsoka. It's very relevant to watch that show. And it's been a good time. It's been kind of surreal to watch a show that doesn't feel like it's that old, but it actually is at this point.
No, it's true.
It's coming on 10 years now.
Yeah, we
next
got
year.
into this during the episodes, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. So
I think so much has come out.
yeah, it is.
But it doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Totally, yeah. So the plan is, check the description. Anytime you watch or listen to Rebels Talk, check the description on the episode to see the 4 episodes that we talk about in that podcast. And then you can listen to the podcast episode, and we just run through each and every one of them, make connections and more, talk up our thoughts on how we felt when things kind of as the show was coming out. And it's a good kind of rewatch podcast.
I think we should do some quick maths here and say, if you were a preteen when the Rebels show was coming out, an early preteen, how old would you be now?
Oh, dang. I mean, if it's like someone was like 9.
Yeah, okay.
Well, now they'd be like 18 years old, almost.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
They went through all middle and high school.
But that was like Clone Wars for us, right? Like when that show came out, I don't know, like I was like 13 when the theatrical release came out.
Okay.
And you guys were a little bit older, and so it was like the perfect age for this like show to kind of like drop, right?
Target audience, yeah.
Yeah, and then when that show finally got finished on Disney Plus many years later, it was like, whoa, this is weird. Like season 7 is coming out now finally, and
right.
It's been,
I don't know if you can include the last season though. You probably have to do just the Netflix season.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I mean,
Did that come out? Was that released after Force Awakens or before?
Yes, yeah. Clone Wars season 7. Yeah, Clone Wars season 7 dropped.
Or no, just the first season of Clone Wars.
First season of Clone Wars. Yeah, I mean that was a long time ago. That was 2008. So.
Sorry, not Clone Wars. I'm talking about Rebels still.
Oh, Rebels. Yeah. Was 20.
Rebels released after or before Force Awakens?
That was before. Yeah, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was the first thing that came out.
2014. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was very quick. It was 2014, and or something, or 20. Yeah, so it was like 2014 or something like that, and then and then 2015 was when Force Awakens hit, right? Or something.
Force Awakens was 2016, I think. 2015.
It's so funny how that all just seems so new still.
It's all a blur. Yeah. Force Awakens. Yeah, 2015. Yeah, 2015, and 2016 was Rogue One. So. All right. Well, anyway, So Rebels Talk, everybody. Go and check that out. First 3 episodes are out. There's a
listen to us old farts ramble on about it.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. And
man.
if you don't think Rebels is for you, maybe just check out Rebels Talk Part 1. It's a preliminary kind of preparedness episode. We talk about the novels and stories that take place right before the season starts, and then Rebels Talk Part 2 gets into the first 4 episodes of the show. Rebels Talk Part 3 gets into episodes 5 through 8. And, we're going to be spitting these episodes out kind of as we can watch them through the summer. And the plan is to kind of finish the show before Ahsoka. So we'll see if we get there, but that's the goal. So join us on the journey, Rebels Talk. All right, Star Wars Visions, Volume 2. This was a long-awaited thing. And Bryce, I'm glad you're joining us because, you're the big anime guy here in the group. So... I'm expecting you have a little bit more to say.
Don't call me that.
Poor Ben Damien getting forgotten.
Ben, I'm sorry. He was unable to make it, but I'm sure we'll get his 2 cents at some point. And he, believe it or not, hasn't they haven't seen the show yet. So
what?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I shouldn't say that.
Maybe it's because
4 hours ago.
Must have been busy.
Maybe it's because they're not like a lot of anime studios. A lot of them are from Europe. Maybe he's strictly Japan China,
only.
Korea anime.
Yeah. I think this season was a one episode longer than the previous volume. We had 9 episodes from various different.
9? I thought season 1 was 9.
I forget. I think it was 8 or 9 or something. Yeah, it might have been 9. But the big deal with this one.
That's fake news.
Compared to volume 1.
Okay.
Volume 1 was all Japanese studios, all Japanese anime, right?
Right.
And this volume took it to the next level. They went worldwide. They went global to every single anime studio that was maybe that they got in touch with that was willing to do it. And I'm guessing we'll have a volume 3 at some point where they reach out to even more studios. But it was very cool. We had studios from Spain, Ireland, Chile, the UK, South Korea, France, India, Japan, and South Africa, and the US, which is in partner with the Japanese location. So there was a lot of and France. I don't know if I said that one or not, but yeah, a lot of different cultural takes on Star Wars in their own creative way,
the
right?
Perspective.
Yeah, and
cultural perspective.
Totally. And the interesting thing about Visions is it's not canon, it's not EU, it's just its own thing. You just kind of watch one of these. You don't need to know Star Wars. You don't need to.
That's true.
You don't need to appreciate Star Wars. You don't need to like Star Wars.
Some of them, I felt like if you took out the word Sith and removed the lightsabers, you would know it was even Star Wars.
Yeah, right. You only need to kind of have some sort of level of appreciation for any kind of mythology and space and science fiction, and that is it, right? There's some in the list which don't even bring it to that level necessarily. They felt very. Very different, right? Very, we can get into it. But the first one is called Sith. It's by El Guri Studios in Spain. And here goes the description. So, a former Sith apprentice leading a peaceful but isolated life is confronted by the past when her old master tracks her down. So what do you guys think of this one?
I was pretty.
I think it was a pretty good opening one.
Yeah,
Go
it
ahead,
was.
Bryce.
Yeah, I think it was the craziest, most experimental kind of art style.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
it felt like a big painting, right? It was very.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. It was 3D animated, but kind of 2D textures, but in a really creative way. And the main character had a big thing with painting as well, so that was interesting.
It seemed to be deriving through the Force her paintings, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting that because we only find out that she's also a Sith kind of halfway through the episode when she gets tracked
Maybe
down.
Closer to the end when she actually confronts her old master.
Right.
Old master, yeah.
Yeah, her old master who weirdly looked like Darth Malgus with bunny ears.
Yeah, that guy was Goofy, man. Darth Goofy.
Darth Goofy.
He's like, "You come to the dark side."
You don't
Maybe
know the
this is a
power of the I don't know the
maybe a
power of
little,
the
Oh man,
this a little,
people are tuning out.
Oh man. Dude, this is when people stop the podcast.
Are they trying to say something against Disney secretly without Disney knowing?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. All it was missing was the big 2 teeth.
It seems to be kind of a theme recently, kind of toying with the idea of a grayish Jedi, right?
Yeah.
We kind of get this in the new, sequel trilogy with Rey, kind of how she's light and dark. She's kind of that's a Jedi, but also the Palpatine's lineage too. So
it's a great point to make because this whole thing was really about the main character facing her past and her fears of her former master, and really just coming to terms with the darkness within her. Right,
exactly.
that was a big thing,
Not
big
being
message.
afraid to use that black paint.
Absolutely, yeah. That was a big message in this episode, just to be kind of a big self-acceptance kind of thing. So that was interesting. Now, also, yellow lightsabers are always cool when they show up. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It had a cool effect to it too, if I remember.
it did. Yeah, it had a very.
It was like a katana, right?
Yeah,
it was very katana.
yeah. It had a curved
That's right.
edge, a curved kind of blade-ish look, a bit like a dark saber, but the dark saber is not curved on the one side. It's it's only kind of got the curve on the other side. So yeah, it was cool. It was very cool.
I will say I did find it a little bit jarring, just from the previous season being very traditional anime style.
Yeah.
And then I felt like a little bit like I was watching a student reel for a while.
Yeah.
Because it was just so arty.
Yeah. No, I kind of feel you there. I mean, traditional anime, I guess, is hand drawn, right? I don't know if the word anime necessarily describes that exactly, since they are going to like a global level of anime studio.
It's more just animation.
Just animation.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to kind of delineate here, is that these are animation studios. They're not anime studios, a lot of them.
So what was season 1?
Yeah,
it was
that's
anime,
a good point.
was it not?
Yeah, well, most
season 1 was definitely just anime.
Yeah, anime. Yeah, I think a lot of it was. Wasn't there one 3D animated in the first volume, or am I misremembering?
There was like the very first one, the one with the in black and white with the samurai.
Yeah,
but I would, if it's done by a Japanese studio, I would still consider that anime.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Like
it also has
because now. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I.
Because now most anime on Netflix and stuff, a good half of it is now 3D.
Right. Yeah. So I guess volume 2 takes it to the global animation level then, not anime. Right. Yeah. It was pretty neat. It was a good one to kick off with. Similar to the first volume, they start strong, and I would definitely say my Pablos and Poodoos, like this one was just a solid 2. I think it was pretty good.
You like this one a lot.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it was kind of exciting. It was interesting. It had some cool designs. I love that droid design. The droid designs were pretty sweet. Yeah, I give it a 2. What about you guys?
You go ahead, Bryce.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a 2 as well. I think the story maybe could have used some work, and there were times I don't know, but I really liked the animation with like the bounty hunters flying around was really good, and the animation with the like Grievous's, saw Grievous's kind of wheeled vehicle was back, and that was pretty cool.
That was awesome.
Yeah, like
it was all right. Maybe I'd give it a 1.5 if I could, but yeah, I'm gonna go 2.
Nice.
Man, making me really feel like I need to give it a rewatch. I was just so jarred from the first half of the episode. I just kind of gave it like a
honest
bad
opinions,
taste in
man.
my mouth.
Honest opinions, yeah. I mean,
oh man, now I feel bad, but I probably would have given it like a 0.5.
Okay, well that's all right though. I mean, that's still not a poodoo, right?
No, I wouldn't go that far, but I maybe been closer to 0 before this conversation.
and for those who are just tuning into Star Wars Escape Pod and don't know our rating system, it's a score out of 7. 3 Pablo Poodoos being the absolute worst. Moving up from there, we got 2, 1 Pablo Poodoo, and then the middle 50%. That's a Bendu. And then we got Pablo points in the positive range, which is 1, 2, and 3. 3 being the absolute best at 100%. So. That's the best way to look at it. So
probably should open with that.
2 and 0.5. Yeah, probably. Yeah. 2 and 0.5 though is pretty good. I mean, I would say that's still, it's not Poodoo. It's all right. Screecher's Reach Cartoon Saloon is the studio, and this is based in Ireland. I could really feel like the Irish kind of cultural aspect kind of coming off the environment that this story takes place in. It was really cool. A young girl seeking reprieve from her days in a rural workhouse discovers a legendary haunted cave with her friends. The cave's dark pull will change the trajectory of her life forever. And this, I gotta say, was probably one of my favorites out of the whole season. And I didn't expect it to be. And I started off and I was like, oh man, like this is not gonna, a bunch of kids. And I was judging it hard. And then they got to the cave and I was like, oh damn, like this is scary. Like this is really good. Like, and the design of that like thing in the cave was the witch lady. Oh, so cool, right?
That was
like,
cool. I like that was cool.
It's terrifying. Yeah. Design. Yeah. And like when it kind of explodes in its kind of angry yell or whatever. It's just the way that it was drawn. Yeah, because this was all 2D
scary,
animated.
man.
It was scary, yeah, and the sounds were like the shriek was crazy. I was
The
like,
Irish
dang.
are terrifying.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Cartoon Saloon is quite well known for being a very good, like most of the stuff they make is very well received. So going into this, because my fiance really likes this studio as well, she like kind of talked it up, and so I was really worried I'd be, get really high expectations, be let down. But man, this one was so good. Like it was one of the times where I went in with really high expectations, and I was like, that was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I really loved about it was that it was a very twisted, kind of depressing version of Anakin's story. Like, wait, because like he's a slave, right? He's in a, what do you call, like a work camp, I guess, right? In Watto's junk shop. He's basically like this little girl, and his shot at gaining his freedom is essentially kind of like this girl facing her fears and going into that cave. And it was like, that was Anakin's pod race was that, like really getting put to the challenge and like fighting for his freedom. And luckily he's found by this very spiritual-ish character, Qui-Gon Jinn, who, is very much like a bright light in the Star Wars universe, as far as like a kind of like a good character, right? Like he's kind of like the ideal Jedi out of all of them. And this little girl is found by what turns out to be this probably a Sith Lord of some kind. A Sith. But presented in the same kind of way of it being like her hope to escape her situation. But the way it ends with the doors closing behind her, she's forced to leave her friends, much like Anakin's forced to leave his mom. And the words are almost exactly the same. Like, this path is only for you alone. Right. And this is a choice that you have to make. And she makes that choice and goes away. And it like the doors close on her face and the episode ends. And I was like, oh my goodness, like that was sad, right? Like you just watch this.
It's so interesting because it shows the similarities between the Jedi and the Sith. Totally. That they both like kind of go out and recruit people. Yeah. The kids don't really know what they're getting into, right? They just want a way out. No, exactly. They want like a way off the planet.
Yeah, exactly.
And you feel like because throughout leading up to the movie, you're like cheering for this little girl. You're like, yeah, like, and her friends are like, if you get the opportunity to get off this planet, you take it. You're meant for like greater things. Yeah. And you think the whole time, and she's gonna get off and do great things. And it turns out that the greater things, it's something a Sith would say too, like, you're like bound for greater things. Yeah. It's just so good how they twisted it all.
Oh yeah.
And kind of like completely flipped the plot on its head.
Yeah.
And then instead of at the
end, without spoiling it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't really know right till the very end to realize the Sith's been leading her all along.
Right. Yeah. Like through the voice in her necklace that she found like prior to this episode or whatever.
I felt so bad for her at the end though. Like she's just fucking be completely duped.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like the pain and torture.
No, it's it was so well done. It was storytelling at its finest for the length of these sort of stories, and keeping it interesting, giving it real edge, and just like good storytelling value. And again, no one needs to have seen anything Star Wars to kind of understand what's going on here, right? Like it's clear that this woman is evil from the moment that you see her to the moment that they leave, and the music and everything. Like it's just kind of painting the picture that this decision she's made is not good for her, and clearly it's going to be her downfall at some point, and her friends are kind of watching her leave that life behind. And whether it's being in a work camp or not, I mean, like whatever she's going off to is worse than where she was. It's so this to me was like a 3 Pablo point.
Oh dang. Yeah,
I think it nailed it.
Yeah, I'm going. This is an easy 3 for me as well. Yeah.
What about you?
3 Pablos.
Something got dragging my heels.
Honest opinions, man. I want to hear it. I
agree with everything you guys are saying. It was really good. It took me a little bit to get into it. I thought that the first, I guess maybe 25-30%, I had a hard time buying in. But once we got to the cave, it really picked up a lot. Then I felt really bad for her and her friends.
Yeah.
So it drew me in. So I would say probably give it around like 2 1/3.
2 1/3. All right, cool.
And that's points, not poodoos.
Right, 2 1/3 Pablo points. All right, In the Stars, that's our third episode by Punk Robot, based in Chile. And two sisters, the last of their kind, who lived in hiding on their ravaged land, squabble about how to survive with the Empire encroaching. On the water run, their sisters must fight back when they were discovered. So this was, very, very kind of rooted in that classic story of innocent civilians on the run from the Empire who's taken over their world. And this one was a 3D animated animation episode. I'm just trying to gain my thoughts, gather my thoughts about this one, because something about this which bothered me at first was the annoying little sister. But something that I did like about it was that it was kind of like they're the last of their tribe. Their mother's influential figure for them, having tried to repel the Imperial forces and died doing so, and now they're just trying to kind of make ends meet and survive as much as possible. The older sister being like, both struggling to be like the guardian of her younger sister and also caretaker, with having to go out and do all the food gathering, the water gathering, all this and that.
And their peoples are all force sensitive.
It seemed, at least the family is. Yeah, it seemed as if
the family is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it seemed as if maybe the mom kind of utilized her abilities, and it's a bit of a surprise kind of to see eventually by the end they both managed to gather the potential to use the force. But yeah, I don't know, Bryce. We'll start off with you. Like, what did you think about this one?
I mean, it wasn't like I thought it was all right. I mean, what's more Star Warsy than I don't know, standing up to the Empire. The Empire colonizes your planet, wipes out your people, and fight back. And
the designs were all similar.
Triumph
too.
Via love, kind of. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, and the designs were good. It was stop motion for the most part, I think, which is like very impressive.
Right.
It was definitely very pretty.
Yeah, but I think story-wise, we've seen it before, right?
Yeah.
Like this kind of I don't think it was like shocking us like Screecher's Reach was, but
right.
But I think it was executed well. It felt very like maybe Disney or Pixar to me in the way that it was a lot about like family, which was like kind of touching at times, and at the end when all the stars light up, and I think it was really trying to aim at tugging the heartstrings and maybe more of a family audience, but I thought it was all right.
Yeah, it was cool. It was also kind of like a reverse story. Like you always get the stories of like the historically British Empire coming in, taking over a country or place or whatever, in which like a very indigenous kind of like culture has settled there and make peace. They get along well with their environment. They're all part of the system, right? I mean, Avatar 2 just came out.
North America, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many stories kind of like that, and this really kind of flipped the script with these two actually kind of succeeding in really not only just kind of dismantling the Imperial base on their world, but kind of fixing it too, because all of a sudden instantly like the stars are clear again, and all the pollution goes away because of the effect that the water has or whatever on something or another. So it was cool. It was cool. It was it kind of reminded me a little bit about Avatar, all those classic stories that kind of tell the same sort of narrative, except it was done in a 15-minute format.
Also, for whatever reason, it brought to mind, like, as an example, like Nestle's like just hoarding so much water, like natural water out of America. And then there's a lot of indigenous protesters and stuff, and like I can see like the connection of like them overthrowing that.
Yeah.
I don't know what like Chile's colonial history is, but it could be something to do with, you know, the studio as well, wanting to kind of put a little bit of their history into like a piece of media that the studio makes, which is like kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I just real quick to flashback about the comparison with Nestle and the Empire. That's the last time I buy a Kit Kat. I'm kidding. Sorry, guys. I can't give those up. All right. Next one. Sorry. Pablos and Pudas. I'll give this one 1.5. Yeah. Bryce?
Oh, we can get 0.5s?
You can get whatever you want, man.
Whatever you want, man. Yeah.
Get whatever I want, man.
3/16.
Okay, I'll go with. I'm just gonna stick to the OG. I'm just gonna go one point for me.
1. All right.
I think I'll do 1.5 as well. I really liked the alien race design.
It was cool.
Really
it was
like
almost feels like it could fit in Star Wars
that's
somehow.
what I thought. Yeah, they have.
It was a good. It was a good
horns.
It was like a good halfway between kind of like a really strange species race and like a humanoid. It was like a good Star Warsy mix.
Yeah, it almost reminded me a little bit of the Zygerians a little bit.
Yeah. There's two different alien races. They're very Zygerian.
Totally.
Two here, so.
Right. All right, sweet. I Am Your Mother by Aardman Animations in the United Kingdom. Sorry, did you get that? Did you rate that last one? Forget.
Yeah, 1.5, same as you.
Oh, right. Awesome. Okay. Yep. I Am Your Mother. All right. Young pilot Annie, who is embarrassed by her sweet but clingy mom, must team with her for a madcap family race at the academy. Along the way, their relationship is tested by the elements, their old ship, other racers, and each other. Now, I got to say, this one is probably one of my least favorite ones. Only because I can appreciate the story it was trying to say, love your moms, all that stuff. We all love our moms. I didn't need a Star Wars animation short to kind of bring me to tears about the whole thing and make me all reflective. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer for a lot of us. We all love our moms a lot.
I think it's tough because like as big Star Wars fans, we really want Star Wars media that like really pushes the lore and pushes the plot and makes Star Wars bigger. Yeah. So to get like something that, and I know this is an issue with the last season too. I think a lot of times the comedic ones were not as popular with a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest issue I have with it, right? Because I did appreciate the story, but I felt like the animation style combined with the comedic level that this one had just kind of didn't merge well with that what could have been more emotional of a story.
I think to me just felt like it was targeting a younger audience.
Yeah, that too.
Like
yeah.
it felt like something I would watch on Disney XD.
Right.
Whereas the other stuff was like more kind of general.
Yeah.
Like older audiences would appreciate it as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't really have too much else to say about this one. Like, I'm just gonna give it a 1.5 poodoo, I think.
Oh wow, you really didn't like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this one a Bendu just because I like Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that exact thing.
All right. Yeah, this is the same studio that did Wallace and Gromit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Aardman. Yeah. So it was silly, and they had a very hilarious interpretation of Wedge Antilles, who's just like this like jerk, and that was pretty fun.
That was probably the
He was
best
always
part.
He's like always trying to get people to buy his merch, which I really liked, and it was played by the guy who played Wedge Antilles.
Oh, really?
Who's yes?
Yeah.
Actor.
It's Ewan McGregor's uncle.
Starts with a D.
Dennis McGregor.
Dennis
Not
Muren?
Dale.
No.
Dennis.
No.
Something Dennis.
Was it
We're close, boys.
Dennis?
We're close.
Dennis Lawson. Dennis
there we
Lawson.
go.
That's the one.
There we go.
Halfway there.
Yeah, it is played by Dennis Lawson. So I think he probably rather enjoyed doing that.
Right.
We had a lot of fun.
So a Bendu for me.
All right. Sweet.
I run into the same issue because I really like the Wallace and Gromit studio.
Yeah.
But I think that also gave me high expectations.
Yeah.
So that made it even a little harder.
Right. All right.
Yeah, I'll go with the Bendu as
Bendu?
well, I think. Yeah.
Did you like the family, like the way that the whole family story was portrayed in this kind of more comedic tone, or do you prefer the more serious, emotional?
Generally more serious.
Yeah.
But I feel the thing is, even like Wallace and Gromit, I felt like, and like Chicken Run and like a lot of their shows, the story itself is generally more serious. Than the characters are kind of goofy.
Yeah. And I like Wallace and Gromit, like that. You watch that for the comedy, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And the villain in this, which was the bad mother, the bad daughter, the narcissistic, pretentious ones, they just, to me, they felt like villains from Pixar.
Right. A little slapsticky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole premise I just thought it was hard to get into. To me, the premise was very young person oriented.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Journey to the Dark Head by Studio Muraco, South Korea. A hopeful mechanic and disillusioned young Jedi team up for a risky and unlikely quest to turn the tide of the galactic war, but dark forces tail them. This was a really good one, and I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about it, Bryce. Just like this. This was a little bit more on the nose with. Other than the fact it's from Korea, like it felt more anime style,
Yeah, this one was, oh man, I'm just kind of like scrolling through it right now, but it hit a lot of those great Star Wars notes that kind of gives us that hit in or that dopamine hit in our brain.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like it had some good aliens in it, had like the Jedi Council was in it at one point, like a really cool kind of like almost mystical
story and
future telling people
like prophecies and stuff.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, prophecies. Yeah, we love a good prophecy.
Yeah.
And then it had a nice time jump. I don't know. This was apart from the classic kind of anime where it kind of I feel like sometimes the dialogue falls through a little bit. This was a great episode.
Yeah. I love the battle on the speeder too. That was a really cool sequence when they're fighting on that speeder flying towards the big statue.
Yeah, trying to get to the ring.
Yeah, the ring and that alone, the ring with all those statue heads on it, that was cool too, because that for some reason just felt
So cool.
very Star Warsy to me, very like Mortis-ish, light and dark, portrayed in a certain way, and
it's because like to me the weak point was she was like, even though we have thousands of years to stay out of the war, like our job is just to record everything. Like this is our heritage. We have a purpose. And she's like, I'm gonna throw all that away because if we destroy the bad statue, then the war will be won.
Yeah.
And then to me that was the weakest part. And then you got up there, and then you find out it's all about balance. And no matter which one she destroyed, it would never work.
Right. No, and what's said in this one too at the end was really good. And like they summarized kind of just some basic principles in Star Wars very well. Aura accepts that she can't stop the war and that another war will occur even if the current one ends, which happens in Star Wars all the time.
Yeah.
Like you go trilogy to trilogy to trilogy, there's another war, there's another war, there's another war, right?
Well, it's in the name.
Yeah. So, and like the question is like, when does it end? And the answer is kind of like in a response that this other character provides her, and reassures her that the light and the dark will always coexist, and says like
until Rey puts an end to it,
right? And it says like if nothing is set in stone, there will always be hope. And I liked that a lot. I liked that he kind of looks at the events that took place and goes like, oh well, I guess so long as it's undetermined as to what will happen, we can strive to stay in the light and hope that things can be better, right? And I like that a lot. I like that whole kind of like resolution to kind of just like that character looking back at the struggles that he had through the episode with perceiving things a certain way after looking into the rock and seeing like a certain series of events unfolding. And I think that's really important because a character like Anakin Skywalker looks at his visions and perceives them a certain way and goes about a very specific way to try and prevent those things from happening.
Yeah, sees them as facts,
And
and he has to go out of his way to.
Yeah, and so long.
Ironically, quite often that's what causes the thing to happen.
Right, because so long as he had hope, that thing wouldn't have happened. Right. So, but clearly Anakin didn't have enough hope. He didn't have enough hope that things could be better. So he went about his own powers to try and prevent these things from happening and therefore cause them in the first place.
He needed a new hope.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the galaxy did, right? And you know, he failed to pass the test, the initial test that was set out for him. And you know, the father on Mortis warns him about that. And so I really liked this one a lot because it kind of combined a lot of those elements and really just painted the picture clear and true. It's like, this is the prophecy that is told. And as long as we can have hope that things can be better, you know, things might just be better, right? You know, if we go out of our way to try and stop these things from happening, maybe we'll just make things worse. And that was very well adapted in such a short kind of time frame for this episode. So it was cool.
An amazing job, packing all that into 20 minutes or whatever.
Totally, yeah. And you know, I mean, this I got to give like only because I awarded the 3 to Screamers. I think I'm going to give this a 2.5. I really like this one a lot.
I think this episode had like everything for me. It had like the sweet ship designs. It had good character designs. It had a really awesome. I love the. I've always wanted to see like be in a universe where like the Jedi are on the. There's like a war happening, but the Sith are kind of on the upper hand. Like there's this point in the episode where they're in like a shop and you see these like Sith cultists kind of roaming around outside. And I thought it was such a cool, such like a cool world.
Yeah, very mysterious.
Or like time that they're living in.
Totally. Yeah.
Almost like Old Republic-y, like Knights of the Old Republic 2 kind of, when like, you know, the Jedi are kind of like on the back foot. So it's very cool.
Yeah, where there's like hundreds of Sith and hundreds of Jedi. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't as excited. Like, I think I was going to give this a 2, but now I've like made myself really excited. So I'm actually going to give this a 3. Yeah.
Wow.
I hype myself up.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
For me, this was without a doubt the best one of Volume 2. And I would say even with Volume 1, I probably would have put it probably my second favorite overall.
Wow.
Because the only other one that really compared to this one for me was the one really like with like the
Elder?
big slingshot. Yeah, the Elder. Yeah. And I was thinking about this, and I think it comes down to both of those episodes. I liked the characters, the story, the world building especially, and all of it comes together in a way that I would like to have more of a series in that universe.
Right.
That's such a good point.
That's
because
a great
those
idea.
2 episodes could live in the same world almost.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah, no, that's a great point to make. I think like if you want to see more of one of these little tidbit samples, that's a great idea for like, you really like this one, right? Yeah. Because a lot of them I just, you know, I watch and I'm like, oh, that was cool. And then you kind of move on to the next one.
Yeah, you don't care to go back to
right,
it. But this,
right.
like, you could delve in and you could keep going.
Yeah.
You keep going with that story or even branch off.
Yeah, exactly. No, I could totally have sat there for another hour and just kind of watched this one continue.
I'd watch a 60-hour anime. You know?
Yeah. All right, the Spy Dancer by Studio La Châte, France. The premier dancer at a famous Imperial frequented cabaret. Is that how it said?
Yeah, cabaret.
Uses her unique skill set to spy for the rebellion, but the presence of a mysterious officer threatens to derail her mission because this officer, in his shadowy form, reminds her of the officer that stole her son away, and it turns out that he is her
Spoilers!
son. Yeah. So, you know, it was another... in a way, you know, talking about the last, you know, the Wallace and Gromit one. Like this one was kind of similar in the way as like the mother's child relationship, but this is kind of the narrative that I like. You know, like a little more kind of. It's got the sacrifice element in there. It's got the emotional element in there. really connects with people.
This is more like, if you're looking at it from that angle, I would say it's more like a kid's movie, like an older kid's movie.
Yeah.
With like a lot of serious and dark undertones, like maybe like Anastasia.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and I liked the way that this was stylized. Really kind of went well with the act, the whole dance that she has with her dress and everything, and yeah, it was cool. It was very I don't want to say like eye candy, but it kept me interested. The visual aesthetic of it kept me interested. And the story was good. Like I really liked the story. It was also very interesting to see something that was a little more in line with Star Wars, because out of all of them in this volume, I think this stuck out to me as something that was incredibly kind of closer adapted to the original content. Whereas like a lot of the other ones, like they don't just straight up put stormtroopers in the episode, but this one did, right? Similar to the next one that we're going to be talking about, this one kind of like really just took stuff out of Star Wars and plopped it in their story. And, because she is working for the rebellion and fighting the Empire. And the officer looked like an Imperial officer. He's wearing a white uniform. And, so it was very much in line with kind of something that we're familiar with as Star Wars fans. And that's something I did appreciate, even though it doesn't need to do that. It was something that was kind of like cool about the episode that I could see a story like this happening in Star Wars, like someone's mom, child is stolen away from her, and because of some twisted Imperial officer that just, selfish, person that just wants to take someone's kid and raise them for his own or whatever, right? Like, like I could totally see something twisted like that happening somewhere in the Star Wars galaxy.
No, it's totally true. And to touch on that a little bit, one of the things I noticed right away that I hadn't really thought about is we see somewhere where stormtroopers hang out off duty, so not just mindless drones.
Yeah.
And they're like taking off their helmets and stuff.
Right. That was interesting.
I don't know if we've ever seen that in
No.
canon. Well,
We've
this isn't canon
the
either,
clone
but-
bar. We've seen the clone bar in Bad Batch and Clone Wars, but
Yeah, but those are clones.
those are clones. Yeah, that is true.
Because the main difference is those are created soldiers versus just regular people.
Yeah,
Which
and they
the
all
clones
Clones have to have faces so you care about them. The stormtroopers, you're not allowed.
That's right.
That's
They
right.
have to be shot at some point. You're not allowed to see their
You're not allowed to
faces.
know who they are.
Right. Yeah.
So this episode is so French.
Yeah,
Because
I was going to get into that.
It's all about because I think this directly kind of comes from a lot of old movies and during World War II when the Germans were occupying Paris, and you'd have all of these off-duty soldiers going to French cafes and French shows and cinemas, and we've seen it in a lot of stuff like the Inglorious Bastards, right? It's a big part where they all go to the French cinema and there's all the Germans there. And it's all about, the French resistance and stuff like that. So I feel like this is a French studio. So I feel like they're kind of sneaking a lot of that kind of stuff
That
in there.
makes sense. Well, I mean, we all know the Empire is based on the Nazis, so there's like a direct correlation there.
Right.
But even a step past that,
Yeah.
because I didn't think about that, but this was the first animation that I immediately knew where it was from, because artistically it was also just very French.
Yeah.
This is very French.
Very much. Yeah. It was cool to see the enforcer droids.
Yeah,
make a
that was
return.
cool. The K2SOs.
Yeah, exactly, and the KX droids, the model number,
Dude,
and
yeah, they were so Terminator-y.
yeah, very much so. And I really liked how scary they made them out to be, because recently, having played Jedi Survivor, these droids are in the game and they're quite difficult to fight off. Like, they make them, a little beefy and kind of tough. Yeah, they just grab you and fling you down, and it was like, dang, like these really are kind of the T-800s of the Star Wars universe, and they were painted very well in that sense, like in this episode with the red eyes and everything like that. I thought that was pretty sweet. Yeah, I'm gonna give this one 1.5 Pablo points.
Okay, it's pretty solid.
I will give this one Pablo points. That's
Dude.
one.
Pablo point.
I will give it 2. It's 2.
2. Wow, that's high.
Yeah, I like this one. I think I've always been a bit of a fan of the French art style, so I really found myself enjoying this one artistically.
A man of culture, are you?
That's right.
A
It's
man
not
of
because
taste.
I was in France a month ago.
You've seen the finer points of Star Wars. I mean, I guess the rebellion, I feel like, where would we have the rebellion without like the French resistance? Do you think that kind of started the whole idea of like a resistance against an oppressive empire, like in a way that you have these agents that are kind of operating within to like,
I think it's the most modern take.
Almost.
I'm sure it goes all the way back to even like the Romans, though, probably farther back than that.
But I guess I was thinking of like a lot of the tropes we have, because like, especially in Andor, when they have like secret radio stations and they're communicating with the rebellion outside, right? Like you always see that in movies where the French are operating within occupied France and they're communicating with like MI5 in England or
that makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
First time we had the technology.
I may tease the French, but thank you, the French resistance, because maybe we would not have Star Wars if it wasn't for you. So.
Yeah.
La résistance.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Vive la résistance.
Oh man, that's from Ratatouille there. All right.
If you wouldn't have said that, I never would have known. Like it's just French music.
All right, did we all give our Paul's? Yeah, we did. Okay. All right, The Bandits of Golak by 88 Pictures, based in India. This one was interesting. This looked like it popped right out of Clone Wars or something like that. The animation style was very similar. Fleeing from their village by train and pursued by ferocious Imperial forces, a boy and his Force-sensitive younger sister seek refuge in a vibrant and dangerous Daba. I guess, can someone tell me what a Daba is? I'll look it up. A Daba, a roadside restaurant in an Indian subcontinent. All right, so we don't have any of those here. But yeah, this was interesting. This was an interesting one because not only did it look like Clone Wars, but based with stormtroopers and Inquisitors, and much like the last one we just talked about, literally elements plucked out of Star Wars and dropped into this animation in another country. But it had very strong Indian vibes about it, like down to the train and the food trolleys and
building
whatever.
Style.
Oh yeah. It was
everyone. All the voice actors are all
totally
Indian.
Totally. Yeah, it was very very strongly steeped in that culture, and it was very, very cool. And like I'm not gonna lie, I would love to see a planet show up in Star Wars that kind of has this.
I was
element.
actually thinking that too. I think that'd be it. Just fit in so naturally.
Yeah. Maybe it's where Depa Balaba's from, right? Like, I mean, like like
idea.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool to have like a Star Wars India. Like maybe this is it,
just
right?
like the architecture. And
stuff. Like the architecture, just everything about
something
it.
in that kind of light.
Yeah. It was it's very colorful, right? Like Indian culture is very colorful. They have the celebration of lights every year, and it's just like it was cool. It was very cool to see, and it's a classic story of Force user on the run. This time,
she is awful at hiding it. By the way,
oh man, like that was my one criticism.
She does not get that she could die at any moment by doing this.
No, yeah, that was kind of my one criticism of the show. I was like, how long have they been on the run that like she is being so incredibly stupid,
so careless
in the train like that, right? Like this poor brother who's like,
please, you're gonna get us murdered. She's like, you're gonna get some candy.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, what did you think about this one, Blake?
Yeah, I got very, very Clone Wars vibes from it, like you were saying, and coming off the back of the French one, just immediately could tell. Okay, this episode was done in India, and to me, just the art style itself, I found myself looking at it a lot because it was really, to me, I was fascinated. On their take with like these incredibly high detailed textures, where some like faces, it was just an image, if you get the right light, you might think that's an actual photo. But then the models themselves, through the motion, had almost no simulation or anything.
Right.
So everything was very static. So to me, it was like a mixture of like really, really modern tech with textures, like really old tech with just the simplicity of like the animation itself. I just found that it was really fascinating for me from like a cultural perspective.
Yeah, it looked interesting. Yeah.
As for the episode itself, though, biggest critique was that girl just at this point. It wouldn't make any sense for her to be as careless as she is.
Right.
But getting past that, I thought the story was actually a lot of fun. And again, we got it was almost like the other side of the coin to the Irish animation, where at the end we get the reveal of there's this Jedi hiding. She's going to take this girl as a Force user, but they're still forced to leave her family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a pretty wicked last kind of reveal there. This elderly woman whips out these like lightsabers, and it's like, whoa. Like,
also, can we please make this Inquisitor canon, because I loved his mustache.
He's so good, man. He's so good.
He's just man, I loved it.
Yeah. Bryce, what did you think about this one?
I think we should slip this episode, like if you're showing anyone new Clone Wars or maybe even Rebels, just slip it in and see if they're like maybe they think they're just having a crazy fever dream.
Oh man. Yeah. No, it was cool. I'm gonna give this one 2 Pablo points.
I wasn't huge on this one. I'm gonna give it a poodoo. I don't think for me it didn't really do job of. To me, the job of Visions is to like do something really outgoing and try to like push, what we think Star Wars is, and try to like expand on it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like by using the Clone Wars animation style and kind of a story that we've seen quite a few times of a Jedi rescuing a Force-sensitive child and then training them. I think it just didn't do it for me, but yeah. That's
a good point. Yeah, you know what? Screw it. 1 Pablo point.
You make me think about it more now too, because of it, Josh.
Damn.
Oh, man.
Downgraded.
The rug out from under it. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'll be the good Samaritan then. I'll go 1.5.
I feel bad now.
I did enjoy it. I did enjoy this episode, but I will. Again, I think this is what came across when I was just chatting. What I liked about it wasn't really the Star Wars side of it. It was a lot of the perspective from another culture side of it.
Yeah, it was definitely cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Pablo points or Poodles? It was 1, right?
1.5.
1.5. Bryce, you gave it a 1, right? 1 Poodoo.
1 Poodoo, yeah.
1 Poodoo. All right, sweet. All right, cool. Next one up is The Pit by D'Art Shitai. I think it's what it's called.
Shitaji?
Shitaji.
I don't know.
Yeah. Shitaji. Japanese U.S. studio. I think they have locations of both. A fearless young prisoner forced to dig for Kyber by the Empire plans a risky escape for he and his people. So this was a very interesting one. It reminded me a lot of The Dark Knight Rises. A lot of Batman in there.
With the big cave.
With the big, the tunnel prison. With the fact that, there's hope so long as someone can climb to the top, right?
Yeah, I got that. And I also got Disney's Holes with Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, yeah. Wow, what a callback. This one was interesting. 2D animated. So, and this one looked really cool. I did like the idea that, this was a civilization kind of, I guess, put to work by the Empire.
Yeah, I guess they were just captives because they didn't really seem like prisoners.
No, yeah.
They were prisoners, but they weren't like.
Yeah, I think okay. So the weirdest thing for me with this one is the lack of time gone by, because there's this whole city that just gets kind of blown up over the course of like a few days, or what it seems, or maybe a couple weeks. These characters haven't aged at all, right? The ones in the hole. And, when this guy finally climbs the top and like kind of goes to the city for help, there's like all these people kind of living there. And I was like, dude, like how long have they been down there? Because like
food and water.
none of it, like this didn't happen overnight. Clearly, like they did a bit of a time lapse there, but then none of the characters aged. So I was a little confused as to just how long has it been. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. But I the emotional kind of ending that this had with him being thrown down to his death,
was crazy.
That hit me pretty hard because I did
so
not
surprised
expect
by
it.
that.
Yeah, I was very surprised by that. So, I mean, that kind of carried it for me. If he didn't die, I don't think I would have given it a very good score. But I think this ended up being like a 1 Pablo point for me. It was that moment kind of took it over the Bendu on this end. So I don't know, Bryce, what did you think about this one?
Yeah, it definitely had this episode had some cojones because it was like the Empire refuses to use like digging machines and instead uses 300 like, people to dig a big hole.
Yeah.
just to leave them down there. That's pretty evil.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And just not let anybody
I don't know.
know
It had
about
some
it. Like, and people in the city are like a kilometer away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
I think maybe
6 miles.
maybe Josh is right. Maybe I think it did have some maybe writing issues, like kind of timeline where how do they build a whole city and kind of do all this stuff? Like, did that have to be a thing? Like, could the city maybe have just been there? Maybe they're just using the poor people, from the city to dig. Why did the city have to be built while they were digging?
Right.
Because I don't know.
And the size of that hole, man.
Kind of
Like,
They wanted the city to be built with the kyber crystals.
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, it was a city built of kyber.
Not the
yeah.
whole city, but a lot of the city, the windows, and it was like the what was like the what they called that?
Yeah, you're right. The idea was that these people in the hole essentially built the foundation of their home, right? And are kind of being trapped
It was all
for it.
and
right?
the fancy windows and decorations of the city. Those are all kyber.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's it called now?
Wow.
The
Wouldn't
fancy
think the
glass.
Emperor would have wanted
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Stained
All this
glass.
precious
Stained glass,
kyber
yeah. Stained
being
kyber.
used for your grandma's china.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true. And then the people that are just
yeah.
so naive about it, even though they could probably see the pit
Yeah.
from from
Yeah.
some of their windows.
I think there are some good messages in this thing, and the animation was all right, but I think I'm gonna give it a Bendu.
Bendu. All right.
Man,
Yep.
I think the other part that was really intense and like really made you think is like this guy, like down his luck, he barely gets out of this pit. He's trying to save people. He gets to the city, and like nobody wants anything to do with him.
No.
Brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, it just made me think of like a lot of people down and out, like on the streets. And
Yeah.
like, they're just ignored.
Totally.
People just want to pretend
Yeah.
they don't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crazy guy yelling that there's like aliens in our midst. Like,
Yeah. When in actual
he's
fact-
probably right. We're just not listening to him.
Yeah, and like it's even more sad knowing that like he's done so much for these people that live in that city, right? Like that's
That
kind
too.
of the part that hits hard. Like he's not just anybody. He's like one of those people that dug so much dirt over the last however many time it was
Yeah.
to make a foundation for this city,
Not
right?
only that, but it was like forced labor.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, he didn't do it getting
Willingly.
Yeah, he didn't do it willingly. Yeah, that's what makes
This
it really
this
sad.
crazy guy fought his way out of an alien spaceship, got to Vancouver, and came up to Josh on the street and said there are aliens in our midst. And Josh,
I gave him the
just kinda
George
ran away.
Lucas. Nope. Nope.
not today.
Got a real job.
Yeah, no.
There's only practical in their life. I made stories.
Yeah. No, this one was one Pablo point for me. So, yeah, Bendu, and you gave
I'm gonna go with. I'll push it a little bit farther, 1.5, just because I really
1.5.
like the animation style.
sweet. Yeah, no, that's what I really like the animation style too.
I was
so.
actually trying. I recognized it from something else I've seen. I didn't look up
Pokemon.
what it was. I don't think so.
I'm just kidding. Ow's Song, and by Triggerfish Studios in South Africa. So an alien child who longs to sing is raised by her loving but stern father to stay quiet because of the strong effect her voice has on the crystals in the nearby mines, which happened. So there was one thing that I liked about this episode, was the idea that there's an entire planet full of corrupted kyber crystals. I thought that was an interesting idea, that the Sith had kind of gone there and done something to the planet that corrupted every kyber crystal.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
That was interesting.
That is really cool.
Yeah, that was a cool concept, and I liked the concept. The rest of this whole episode, though, it was just not for me, and that was just it.
What's funny is with the High Republic books, we hear a lot about the Force being connected more to song.
Yeah, so like in the High Republic books, there's Jedi that perceive the Force in different ways, right? In this Visions episode, it was kind of taken to the literal sense, where this girl can literally purify crystals with her singing, right?
Yeah, and Kybers themselves sing, and that is for sure canon, because it's in Clone Wars how some of the Padawans find their
they can like hear them in the Force or something, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. I mean, it was interesting. It didn't really, the animation style for me, it was kind of, it was all right, I guess. It didn't really keep me too interested.
You didn't like the cool like fluffy textures, like the real fabrics and stuff? No,
I think that, the whole like stop motion plushy thing, I don't know, I guess it just wasn't for me. But
oh man, I thought it was cool. Reminded me a lot of like Little Big Planet. It was like everything was like super zoomed in textures of fabrics,
right?
That really drew me in, I think, the most.
It was colorful. It was definitely colorful. Yeah. I don't know, I guess I just didn't look at it as anything super new. I think maybe it felt too similar to something maybe I've seen before, or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of like meh for me. I think this one, I think I would give it like a 0.5 Poodoo or a Bendu, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm a little over kind of kyber crystals.
Yeah,
kyber crystalled out.
Kyber crystal.
Yeah, I think I'm also gonna go for. I think I'm gonna go for a I'll go for a Bendu. I'm gonna give it a Bendu because it was pretty. It was a pretty.
It was very pretty.
Yeah.
And I also did kind of like the character designs here too, where they were basically like. What was it called now?
Bunnies?
No. Sea lions. They're basically sea lions. They had like the whiskers and everything.
Oh yeah, true actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a cool take on that. Yeah. I like that there was mining. They're mining peoples.
Yeah.
And I like the planet design as well.
Yeah.
I think that style of like mountains is very common in a lot of animation stuff, but we don't. It's something that Star Wars specifically hasn't actually done yet. Surprisingly.
That's true.
So.
Yeah, it'd be pretty easy because those mountains exist, right? They're like a Chinese mountain range.
Yeah.
Like a lot of cliff faces.
So what'd you give this one?
Yeah.
I think I give it one.
One Pablo point?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I did enjoy this. I thought it was a good kind of like last episode too.
Yeah. I can see why they didn't put this one first. That's for sure.
Like I said, the first one was too jarring in my opinion. It really threw me off.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, because like it like watching it, like it kind of darkened the first few episodes a little bit for me, like skewed my perspective.
Oh wow!
And then it kind of worked back up over as I continued. That's what I was saying at the beginning. I probably need to do a rewatch the first couple episodes.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I came in a little bitter.
Well, I mean that's Visions Volume 2 in a nutshell, and our thoughts on each of these episodes. So that was cool. I think like overall it is always interesting to kind of like give all these a watch, and like we said, just kind of find that one in the mix that's like, oh wow, like I could watch a whole series like with this.
Yeah, I'm glad we got that again.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad we found like at least one again where like a golden egg sits in the bunch there.
I think this is something that they really need to listen to because it's a good way to release a bunch of stuff and see what the fans respond to.
Yeah, you mean Star Wars Escape Pod, right? Yeah.
That's right. This is what they should be listening to find out what the fans want.
Yeah.
That's a good way to dip your toe in the water and get some creative ideas and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
for sure.
Before I can hear the music fading in here, but I want to get your guys' opinion on Volume 1 versus Volume 2. If you think it was a step up, step down, or like kind of ended up about the same in the end? Like kind of like an overall.
Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one because I remember the first one being a bigger deal with kind of watching it in its original Japanese language and then having the subtitles on. That kind of made it better for me. This time around, I didn't even bother with the original language if it had one. I just kind of listened to it as it was in default in English, and it like, I don't know. Did you guys do that, or did you kind of make sure you flipped to the language it was supposed to be?
Just English for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, English for me as well.
Yeah. So I think that experience changed season volume 2 up a lot for me on this end, but I'm just happy that there's at least 1 or 2 golden eggs in each volume where, it's like, that was cool. The standout ones for me being like The Elder and whichever it was like 1 or 2 in this time around as well, which were like really high up the score. But no, I can't really pick like a volume as a favorite, only because there's only been that 1 or 2 that I really like, and then the rest I kind of could go without.
Yeah, like I would say something similar, but for different reasons.
Yeah,
because I think this season overall had stuff I enjoyed more consistently, but season 1 had stuff I really liked and really disliked.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Right.
And but at the same time, the season 1, I'm just more of a fan of like traditional anime.
That's fair.
Compared
Yeah,
to
that's
general
fair.
anime.
It's a bit more consistent. Yeah.
Like I just like that style better, so there's a little bit more of a bias towards season 1 in regards to that.
Yeah.
So like, they definitely both have strengths.
Yeah. Get more of that Jedi. What was it called? The Rhapsody.
Oh man, yeah.
Tatooine Rhapsody
That's
or
the
something.
one. Anyway, Bryce,
Tanner
what's your take?
loved the one with the bunny Jedi last season. I remember.
Oh man. I might enjoy it more
for
this
the-
time, but sounds like, go on.
I think for the I was just thinking about like what I'd want from a season 3 of Visions, and I think it would be really cool if they went into like 3D animation and did more of like a cinematic, like it's like Star Wars cinematics, hey, like 3D.
Yeah.
Republic?
Like Old
Yeah.
Republic trailers.
Obviously, they wouldn't have to have that sort of budget or like time to polish, but like seeing some of that would be really cool, because there's a ton of studios that do that kind of work too.
Totally.
As we see from like series on Netflix that are very similar to this, like Love, Death, and Robots, right?
Right.
I'm just worried
So I
that all
think
this
that would
look like
be
Clone
super
Wars.
cool.
Yeah, that is the trouble. Maybe the Clone Wars look will be replicated too many times, but I don't know. I mean, like, again though, like there's so many that are 2D animated and they all kind of have a unique flair to them. So
Yeah.
it's possible they could pull it off, right? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you both for coming back on the Escape Pod and sharing your thoughts on Volume 2 of Visions, and we will catch you both in the next one.
We'll see you out there. Keep flying.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. All right, and to all of you tuning in at home, this is Tatooine Rhapsody. Catch Volume 1 of Star Wars Visions on Disney+. This is not an infomercial. This has been Star Wars Escape Pod, and we appreciate you tuning in every week to the podcast and giving us those 5-star ratings on the podcast platform of your choice. You can reach us at our email, swescapepodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter with the handle @swescapepodcast, same as YouTube and Instagram. Check out our YouTube channel for weekly releases. May the Force be with you, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Star Wars Escape Pod.